What's up, everyone? All right, so in today's episode, I'm going to give you my watch list for tomorrow and my game plan for the week ahead. This is going to be a little bit of an interesting week because we've got a market holiday on Wednesday, dead center, middle of the week, markets closed for Christmas Day. And then the following week will be a market holiday again on a Wednesday for New Year's Day. So this is going to be kind of funny these next 2 weeks. But what I'm thinking is that because the market has been hot, when there are stocks that are obvious, they're going to get a lot of attention. They're going to still get good follow through. So if we jump onto the screen share here, my P&L for the last couple weeks has been solid. Occasionally sort of big green day when we have something that I can really sink my teeth into. And then the rest of the day is kind of a little slower. So Friday ended up finishing at $9,000. I took a couple trades after I finished my recap. I could have done a second recap, but I didn't. And the last stock I traded was NVNI, which was a blue sky setup. So we had all-time highs back here, just under, what was it, like around 7, sold off, and then ripped back up here and squeezes on Thursday and Friday. So this one, I traded in the morning. So I think when I did my recap, I was actually red on it from a trade I had taken. I think it was right here. But it was not red by a lot, maybe $600 or something. Anyways, it sells off, and then all of a sudden at 2 p.m., 3 p.m., it rips here through 5, up to 7, pullback up to 8, 9, 10, 11, $12 a share. So a pretty big move there. Now, it's come back down to 750 approximately in the after hours on Friday. And on the one hand, it's a blue sky setup, so it's a stock that clearly has a lot of range. It can move. On the other hand, I'm just not sure what's reasonable to expect out of it, so probably won't get more trades on that. I think the challenge here is there anything that was strong towards the end of the week that we should be watching on Monday morning? As the case was last Friday, we had a stock that was really strong into the close on Friday, and then closed at the peak after hours, and then that was the first stock that squeezed Monday morning. So if we look to the leading gainer, is it set up for that type of trade? NVNI, not really. Yes, as long as it holds 7, it could bounce and then put in a rally back up here. Could be an entry off support. But if there's something else that's stronger, traders will probably go for that. MYSZ closed at 210%. But this one was really strong in the pre-market session on Friday in the first hour and then started to sell off, right? So that one dipped back down. So that one doesn't look like it's set up for another trade. And the daily chart is a big red candle. So that one's not looking so great to me. TPIC floats a little too high on that one. IGC floats a little higher on that one, also has lighter volume. HSDT, 121 million shares of volume, but that's not a chart we can do much with. It sold off too much, right? So OPTX, this one rallied kind of into the close, but pulled back a bit in the after hours. So I don't think that one's set up either. So I wouldn't look necessarily at any of the top 4 gainers into the close for an opportunity. We can just check the after hours top gainer scanner. So let's see. Let me link this to my charts here. All right, so link to the chart. So 11 million share float on this one. JDZG popped up after hours. Rumble, RUM, 85 million share float, also popped up after hours and closed pretty strong. Interesting. So, yeah, strategic investment. That's a huge investment. Interesting. But the float's higher. HOVR, lower priced. LTRY, lower price. CASK, that one did start to open up a little bit in after hours trading. And it's also a blue sky setup. But it's a distilling company. So, that doesn't feel like the hot sector right now. So I don't think that that's probably going to be worth it. And then none of these are up quite enough. So that's our after hours top gainer scanner. That's not giving us any real big ideas. The continuation scan, NVNI, of course, on that. LAES, 15 million share float, back over 280, 290, maybe over 3. I think the float might be a little higher because it's a little cheaper. OPTX, no. QMCO, this one's been really impressive. Quantum Corporation, it's just gone higher and higher and higher. So the AI sector there is kind of just a wild chart from $4 to 64. I mean, that's just really impressive. I mean, NUKK arguably made a bigger move and is more impressive because it did it a lot faster. The problem with NUKK, price range is tough, big spreads, not easy to manage risk on it. I'm over it on this one. You could get a bounce day, first daily candle to make a new high, but on lighter volume at this price range, it's just too risky. It's not going to be worth it for me. I'm not going to be able to make big money on that. My next best chance for a big money trade is going to be something between, 5 and probably 10 that has breaking news and squeezes up to $12 or $15 a share, because that's the price range where I could buy 10,000 shares of it. And if it goes up 5 points, I'm up 50 grand. Buying 10,000 shares of something like this, it's just too, I mean, you could drop 5 points in a fraction of a second. You can't take that kind of share size on it. A couple thousand shares, but then to make 50 grand, it needs to go up like 50 points. Well, 15 points, I guess. But you know what I mean? It's just, you have to get such a huge move. It feels like it's not worth it. So, yeah. And then GRRR, this was another one that's been on the scans a bit, grinding higher. Lighter volume, though, topping tails on the daily. So it pushes higher and then it pulls back. Not as easy to trade there. ABP, lower float. Yeah, see, I don't think that's going to work either. So here's what I think the game plan is going to be for Monday morning. I think that I'm going to be watching, I'm going to sit down, 6:45. I'm going to be watching the top gainer scanner. I'm going to see what's leading the scan. What is the most obvious stock in the market? And I might have to sort by volume. It's possible we'll have a stock that's up a lot, but it's got light volume. So I want to see where's the volume, and then what are the leading gainers? What is obvious? What are other traders going to be looking at? And then once I kind of figure out, is there a stock on the top of the scan that meets the 5 pillars of stock selection in terms of price, float, relative volume, news, percentage change on the day, then I'll get focused in on the fundamental of what's the catalyst, what's the headline, what's pushing it higher, and then getting into the chart. Looking at the daily, position of the 200, looking at the 5-minute, then looking at the 1-minute, the 10-second, and at that point looking at my level 2 and trying to decide, is this something I can actually break the ice and take a trade on? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I even though it's possible one of the stocks I mentioned could continue into Monday, none of them closed in quite the strong enough position on Friday that I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the one that I'm focusing on for Monday morning. So that means Monday's going to be really based on what we have on the scanners, fresh stocks gapping up potentially with news. These could be international companies that put out news, early in the morning so they can start squeezing. Could be Chinese companies, that could happen, Asian companies. So we might see some momentum in overseas companies. If one of them have news tomorrow morning, for lack of anything else to trade, that could become the leading gainer, right? So what companies put out news at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m.? Mostly it'd be international companies. U.S. companies wouldn't put out news that early, typically. So it's possible, since we don't have anything carrying over from Friday, that an early morning international company will have a headline. Traders jump on that, especially if it's got, the right combination of float and price. And then those are our first trades. Then maybe 7, 7:30, 8, 8:39, we have headlines from a U.S. company. That could give us some more trades, potentially. And then all of a sudden, we're going in the opening bell. So 9:30. Now, my trades from last week, I did really well trading early. I had a couple days where I was able to add some profit later in the day, but I found it to be a bit choppier. So my focus is going to continue to be trading early, being as aggressive as I can. First, building my cushion, and then once I have a cushion, sizing up quickly. Last 30 days, I'm up $684,000. So right now, in a nice, a nice stretch here. Sitting in really good shape on the year, 1.9 million, $1,994,412.02. Accuracy 65%. Average winners $900. Average losers $600. Just taking a lot of trades, thousands and thousands of trades over the course of the year. So Monday morning, gonna sit down, look for the stock that's obvious. As long as I can build a cushion, once I've got that cushion, I'll size up, I'll take some risk, and try to have, a couple of really good days this coming week. The market being closed on Wednesday, I guess I would say that, typically like Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, is a lighter volume day in the market. And with lighter volume, you have to be a little bit careful if it is light volume. So Black Friday typically is. But this week, is it going to be lighter volume? Probably a little bit lighter because there'll be some traders who are traveling. They're not even going to trade at all. Or maybe they're on their laptops. They might take a couple trades, but not serious volume. So I think we should expect that there'll be slightly less volume this week than a typical week. Maybe even a little less volume next week, but I think, sorry, not sleeping very well. I think when we're on the backside of Christmas, on the other side of Christmas, we're going to see a little bit more momentum. So, especially as we get closer to the new year, that's kind of like the new year. All of a sudden, like Christmas is sort of the holiday where typically it can be slow. And then we're getting into New Year's and it's like, all right, now people are getting ready to buckle down. Let's start the new year off, with a bang. So finish the year strong and then go right into New Year's. So I guess I would say it wouldn't surprise me if Thursday and Friday this week are a little slow, the day after Christmas and then Friday. That wouldn't be shocking. Monday, I think Monday tomorrow should be fine. Tuesday, Christmas Eve, maybe a little lighter volume, but it's a Tuesday. So, we're just gonna have to take it, trade by trade. We'll just see. As I sit down and, we're looking at the scanners and we're seeing the volume, what's hot, what's moving, do we have some action we can work with? Are we still seeing those big percentage gainers? And if we are, I'm going to be aggressive. Now, one thing that I noticed a little bit last week was we were seeing some stocks that were squeezing up and then they would just come all the way back down. And so we got to be a little bit careful there. You can ride those squeezes, but it's easier and usually better if we get kind of more that gradual ramp up, pull back, and then the parabolic move. The just going from 0 to 100 and then back to 0 it's hard to trade because you're just sort of chasing. And although in a hot market you can make money doing that, that won't work when things start to cool off. So that's something just to be a little careful of, especially when we're seeing stocks with no news that are popping up, because they really don't have any reason to go that high. Now, it's true that we had a couple stocks last week that had no news and still went up like 400 or 500%, which is crazy, but they did. And shorts got stubborn and kept adding, and then they got blown out on that parabolic squeeze where all of a sudden it's jumping up 2 points, 3 points, 4 points at a time. So could that happen again? It certainly could. It's something to be on the lookout for, but we also saw a number of stocks with no news that popped and then just faded. So I would prefer to trade stocks that have an obvious catalyst and that have a little bit more volume. Some of the really, really light volume trades last week were also tricky because there was sort of dispersed attention. You had like 5 stocks that were strong. It usually is easier when we're focused just on one stock. So, if it continues to be that dispersed attention, that's also something to be aware of. So anyways, there's a couple of things that I'm keeping an eye on. For those of you guys that are tuning in on YouTube, 2 things. Number 1, our New Year's sales are now underway here at Warrior Trading. So new year, new you. You may not know this, but I actually started day trading as a New Year's resolution. That was how I got my start. I was like, you know what? I gotta do something different this year. And so I started as a New Year's resolution. So you could check out the 2025 coupon codes here, new year, new you. Those are now live. Anyone that wants to do a 2-week trial, you could still do a 2-week trial. You could join me for the next 2 weeks and watch over my shoulder. There'll be links pinned to the top of the comments and in the description. So you can, during the 2-week trial, you can be in the chat room. You can listen to my broadcast, watching me trade. You can use our scanners, our news feed, this software right here. And you'll be able to go through a selection of classes from the Warrior Pro curriculum to see if you like it. And if you enjoy it, that's awesome. We'd love to have you stay and become a full-fledged member. And if not, no big deal. It's 2 weeks for $20, so it gives you a chance to kind of be in the community. So for those of you guys maybe that have a little more flexibility this week, whether you've got some time off from work or whatever the case is, I'm going to be here trading every single day. No days off for me. I'm like the mailman. So, except I don't work on Saturday. Well, I don't deliver the mail on Saturday. There's no stock market Saturday. But I'm actually, I am still working. It's Sunday now, and I'm making making the watch list. And I was actually working on an episode yesterday that I'm going to upload probably in like a week. So you guys will enjoy that. Nonetheless, I will be here Monday through Friday next week. The only exception, of course, will be on Wednesday when the market is closed. So, won't be here Wednesday, but the rest of the week I'll be here. I'll be streaming as always and looking for some opportunities. And I wager I'll be able to find some nice trades this week. So would love to have you guys join us, and I will see you bright and early first thing tomorrow morning. My broadcast will open at about 7 a.m. All right, so I'll see you guys at 7. Thanks as always for tuning in. And a reminder, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you guys back here bright and early tomorrow morning.